It's one of the most baffling decisions in World War II history, and it cost millions of lives. In 1941, Joseph Stalin, the ruthless Soviet dictator known for his paranoia and iron control, received dozens of warnings that Adolf Hitler was planning to invade the Soviet Union. British intelligence sent reports. Soviet spies in Germany sent messages. Even some of Hitler's own officers leaked information. All signs pointed to one terrifying truth. Nazi Germany was preparing to launch a massive invasion, Operation Barbarossa, and yet Stalin ignored them all. Why? To understand that decision, we have to go back to 1939. That year, Germany and the Soviet Union shocked the world by signing the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a non-aggression treaty that said neither nation would attack the other. Secretly, they even agreed to carve up Eastern Europe between them. Poland was divided and the Baltic states fell under Soviet control. For Stalin, the pact was a masterstroke. It bought him time. The Soviet Union was still rebuilding its military after years of brutal purges during which Stalin had executed or imprisoned thousands of his own officers. He believed he had at least a few years before Germany would ever turn east. So when the first warnings came in 1940 and early 1941, Stalin's instinct was to dismiss them. He believed they were tricks, deliberate misinformation designed to push the USSR into war before it was ready. In fact, he was convinced that Winston Churchill and British intelligence were behind the rumors. Britain desperately needed another front to take pressure off itself, and Stalin believed they were trying to drag the Soviets into the conflict prematurely. Even when Richard Sorge, one of Stalin's most trusted spies in Tokyo, sent highly detailed reports of Germany's invasion plans, Stalin called them British lies. Even when German troops massed along the Soviet border, over 3 million soldiers, 600,000 vehicles, and 3,500 tanks, Stalin explained it away. He told his generals Hitler was bluffing, trying to pressure him into concessions. He even ignored German reconnaissance flights over Soviet territory, refusing to let Soviet anti-aircraft guns shoot them down. Some historians believe Stalin was clinging to the hope that Hitler needed Soviet raw materials too much to risk a war. The USSR was supplying Germany with oil, grain, and metals, critical resources for the Nazi war machine. Why would Hitler jeopardize that? But Hitler had other ideas. From the very beginning, his ideology was built on the belief that Germany needed Lebensraum, living space, in the East. The Slavic peoples were, in his view, inferior. The Soviet Union was not just a rival power. It was the ultimate enemy. Hitler wanted its land, its resources, and its destruction. By the spring of 1941, Operation Barbarossa was fully planned, the largest invasion in human history. 3 massive German army groups were preparing to sweep across a front more than 1,800 miles long, aiming to capture Leningrad in the north, Moscow in the center, and the oil-rich Caucasus in the south. And still, Stalin refused to believe. In early June, just days before the invasion, Soviet intelligence intercepted messages and field reports showing the Wehrmacht was ready to strike. Stalin's generals pleaded with him to prepare the army. His response was chilling. Do not provoke the Germans. He even ordered his troops not to return fire if attacked, for fear of starting a war himself. Then came June 22, 1941. At dawn, without a formal declaration of war, 3 million German soldiers poured across the Soviet border. Luftwaffe bombers roared overhead, smashing Soviet airfields and cities. Within hours, the Red Army was thrown into chaos. Thousands of planes were destroyed on the ground. Entire divisions were encircled and captured. Cities fell in weeks. Stalin was reportedly so stunned that he vanished from public view for several days. According to some accounts, he told his inner circle, "All that Lenin built, we have destroyed." He believed his government might collapse. The price of his mistake was catastrophic. In the first weeks alone, the Soviet Union lost thousands of tanks, hundreds of thousands of troops, and vast swaths of territory. By the end of 1941, millions of Soviet soldiers and civilians were dead or in German captivity. The Eastern Front became the bloodiest theater of World War II, A brutal, grinding war of annihilation. And yet out of that disaster, the Soviet Union eventually rose again. Stalin mobilized the country for total war. Soviet factories moved east of the Urals, beyond German reach. Red Army units learned from their early defeats, adapting their tactics and building powerful new weapons. And slowly, over 4 long years, they pushed the invaders back, all the way to Berlin. But the question remains, why did Stalin ignore the warnings? Historians still debate it. Some say it was arrogance. He simply believed he was too clever to be tricked. Others point to the trauma of the purges. Stalin no longer trusted his own intelligence services. And some argue he was gambling for time, hoping to delay war until at least 1942. Whatever the reason, Stalin's refusal to act on the evidence before him remains one of the most devastating miscalculations in modern history. A decision born of distrust and paranoia that cost the Soviet Union more than 27 million lives. So was Stalin a fool for ignoring the signs, or a leader trapped by his own fears and misjudgments? Tell me what you think in the comments below.